Here is a tricky question. Who is responsible for everything that happens in your life? A long pause for a hook, I know. But a pause is necessary because this question solves a lot of your problems if you answer it not correctly, but in an assumed way, consciously, after giving it some thought. Who can be responsible for anything that happens inside your life? Because it's your life and no one else's life, at the end of the day, you are responsible. And yes, you will say, what do you mean I am responsible? There are things outside my control, things I cannot influence, things that I am unlucky in a way to be confronted with, that other people's are not so unlucky like me, so why should I suffer and they should not? It only appears that you are unlucky if you decide to see it like that. And I know there is a spectrum, right, of bad things happening to people in this life. I know that. I've been, however, through a painful enough situation in my life, which culminated with me losing my mother after 4.5 years of fighting cancer, that I can decently extrapolate to looking at a seemingly bad thing as being something to be grateful for. And I know it's a stretch. I know it's not something that you can consciously realize from one day to another. And again, there is a spectrum. But what is at stake if you don't make out of that bad thing, the best you can? What is at stake is that you risk losing or missing, rather, an incredible opportunity to learn deeply powerful lessons that can transform your life, literally. And I say that because this was my case. Of course, I would have been validated, confirmed, encouraged, even maybe, to adopt a different position when it comes down to my own experience on what was happening to me. I was going through this incredible suffering, which I knew at the time, since I found out the diagnosis, I knew that it will only end one way. It was just a matter of how long it will take until we get there. So in between, a difference when you know that you are losing someone, there is also like a spectrum of possible suffering in that interval. If you learn about a diagnosis of a terminal disease, of course, it's a matter of months, most or at best years. And I say at best in case there is some quality of life to be enjoyed. In case of a terrible accident, you don't really have time to accommodate yourself, to put yourself in the position of actually being able to even understand what's happening to you. Right? For me, it took 4.5 years. 4.5 years in which the initial two were impossibly hard, in the sense that I barely came to terms with what was happening, and I barely got my shit together, let's put it bluntly, so that I can still be operational at work and also for my family, who needed me in the end. But for the remaining 2.5 years, if I would have to split it, the journey, that second part was more about what am I learning from this? How can I grow out of this in a way that empowers me to become someone, first of all, I am proud of, and make out of this situation my raw fuel, my raw source of motivation that will never leave me, even after my mother will be gone. And I took that on me. I saw that as my own sole responsibility because no one else was able to give that to me. And how could have then been able to do it? I had to do it. I had to see things in a way that were not crippling me and defeating me and forcing me to see life in this negative light where bad things happen to good people, which on the surface this was happening in the end. My mother was an incredibly empathetic human being, and I think that was her biggest flaw in a way, because she was suffering way too much for people who were not deserving ultimately her attention and care. And she was sacrificing herself for the betterment of other people who again might not have cared about her that much. And I was learning everything in these 4 years. I knew her, I knew the context in which she was suffering, why she was suffering. I deconstructed a lot from her progress and her path in life, and I started to project my own path in life. I started to map where I was like her, where I had the same predispositions like her, where I was going down the road if I would not learn the lessons that she was not able to learn in time, and how I can take that on me and be the kind of person that I know I could become thanks to her, because of her, because this is happening. I started to look at the seemingly difficult and not seemingly objectively difficult life situation that I was going through in a light where I consumed everything as a lesson. Even if it was painful on the surface, there was some meaning behind it. There was some lesson, some key lesson that I was oblivious to my whole life because I didn't have this context to reflect. I was learning more and more important lessons for myself, about myself, that I can then use in my life after she will not be with me anymore. And make use of those lessons as valuable gifts that she herself, by talking to me, by explaining me things, should have never been able to teach me. So in this way, through this unconscious sacrifice, because this is how I integrated the experience, she made this unconscious sacrifice to give up her own life so that I can reborn as someone who can actually enjoy his life, because I was not enjoying my life that much. I was taking things for granted. I didn't feel good about myself, about my capabilities, about what I'm doing day to day. I had this sense of not enoughness, but not in the material thing type of view, like I don't have enough things, but I am not enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not maximizing my potential in a way. I had this feeling. I didn't know how to articulate it, but I was quite pissed on myself. And through this sacrifice, she was able to teach me everything that she could have been absolutely impossible, unable to teach me otherwise. And did I read this in a manual? Did someone convince me to look at it like that? No, of course not. It's my own subjective integration and decision to see things like that. And I don't need That's the beauty of it. I don't need anyone's approval or anyone's confirmation to feel justified to see things like that. Why? Well, because it's my life. This is how we started the video, right? Who is responsible for who is the person responsible for taking ownership of everything that happens in your life? The fact that she was dying and I was about to lose her, and what happened to her was not on the outside my responsibility as such, but my life subjectively was impacted by all these external factors that indeed I might not have contributed to, might not have played a role. I might have played my role in the initial conditions, how everything evolved since the beginning of time. I don't know, of course, maybe, but what was happening in my life, was happening also in other people's lives, for what I can tell, but I was only able to control my own life because I knew that my life for sure was impacted. that I can tell you. And because this suffering is an incredible fuel and an incredible tool for getting you to see what's beyond it and learn the lesson that the suffering wants you to teach. The fact that I had this opportunity and now I see it in plain sight when retroactively I look at what happened and how I integrated everything, when I look at it, I take from it the most precious gift that I could have ever received from someone in my life. And of course, it had to be from my mother, because she loved me unconditionally and she was giving me everything she can, always. So, Einstein, I think, was right, at least for me, based on my own experience in life, when he said that the most important decision we make in our lives is to whether we believe to live in a friendly or a hostile universe. And it's ultimately indeed a decision. It is a decision. I could have had enormous amount of proof and stories to convince myself and everyone else in this world that I am indeed living in a hostile universe, because look what's happening to my mother. Look what's happening to her. Look what this did to our family. Look how many people are suffering. Look how I'm suffering. How can a good thing come out of this? How can I look at this as a good, positive thing? Okay, indeed, I could have had like an infinite amount of proof to justify this negative position. But then what? Then what? I was 35 when she passed away. I could have had this negative narrative in my mind. And then what? What would have this narrative teach me, and help me with in order to navigate the rest of my life in a way that honored her name and made her, even if not physically in real life, feel that it was all worth it. Because now I know, and I also know from the way she passed away, from the ease she had, from the lack of struggle and deep suffering. I knew that I knew in those impossibly difficult moments that she knows that I look at this as a beautiful gift, and I will make her proud of what I will do with it, and I will leverage it as an infinite source of power and motivation and grit and resilience and kindness and care and love. And I know that she now knows that it was all worth it. Even if only because of this, of the fact that I transform my life. And with this transformation, I am going to transform or help other people transform their own lives. Just because of this framing. Because a different framing means a different life. Seeing things in a way that empower you, like the decision of looking at the universe as being a friendly one, is the kind of reframe that can dramatically change your life. And I can attest to that. Because despite this seemingly natural way of doing things, of seeing things in a negative way, because this is a negative thing clearly that happened to me, despite that thing, and despite all the suffering, I genuinely believe that I am living in a friendly universe. And that's enough for me to get the most and the best out of what happened for me, not to me. Why? Because even if at the beginning of this journey I had no idea that I had the possibility to decide between a friendly and a hostile universe, as I was going through the journey, I realized more and more, day by day, that this kind of decision not only exists, but I have to take ownership of it for myself. I have to decide for myself. Even before I met Einstein's quote, I knew I have to make this decision for myself that this universe is friendly or hostile. And when I said, what happens now happens for me, so I can learn, so I can grow, so I can become a better person, so I can serve others at a higher level. I said implicitly that this is a friendly universe. Then I saw Einstein's quote and I said, this is right. And more than that, what's powerful here is that decisions, that beliefs are decisions, right? The most important decision we have to make in our life is to believe if we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. So all this narrative that you have in your mind, constructing you the world in which you live, are your own decisions. By the very nature of how Einstein, not me, Einstein framed them, right? The most important decision we have to make is whether we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. And the way you look at your life, the way you view things in a negative or a positive light, are coming from your decision. Implicit decisions, maybe sometimes, unconscious, yes, and forced or led to by others. You've been led to believe negative things about you, about others, about the world, because of your upbringing, because of the way you were grown up, the context in which you are operating, your culture, your family, your friends, who forced passively onto you a certain way of looking at things. And now you take that way of looking at things for granted and you attach it to you, to your identity, and you say, this is me, this is what happened to me, this is my past, this is why I'm sad, this is why I'm angry and pissed off, because look at what happened to me. And you're right. Yes, in a way you're right, because again, to look selectively for proof that confirms the fact that you had a rough upbringing, a negative journey up to this point, you can clearly find it. There are very few people in this world who had an absolutely uneventful, glorious existence, purely positive, net positive from the outside. And you know what? It's highly likely that if they are more than 30, they are very miserable. Why? Because they have nothing to contrast that experience with. if everything is on the upper side, when you look from the outside, they don't have anything to contrast that positiveness with, so they can appreciate it. We are a species of contrast. We need contrast, good or bad. If you don't have some bad things, you cannot observe the good. Does it make sense? It makes sense. Think about it. Now, of course, the challenge is, and the art is more of an art, because again, it's your decision. You have to start making conscious decisions that when seemingly negative things happen to you, bad things, so-called, you see them in as close as real time as possible, as not being bad, as being lessons. Even if they don't make sense when they come, even if it's too painful to just be objectively accepting and allowing of everything and have this perfect equanimity with everything, even if that's impossible, at least you know that it will make sense along the way. 3 months from now, 3 years from now, you will know that this painful experience will make sense. And not only that it will make sense, but it will be an absolutely necessary experience and lesson that you have to learn in order to progress, in order to grow, in order to evolve as a human being. And I know this to be true. So what I'm saying is that, of course, that I inherit and I continue to inherit and live my human condition. When things are rough, I react most of the time. I don't like it. I would like it to be different, especially when I expect things to be perfect all the time and I plan things out and I'm like, this should be like great, and then something happens. It's very difficult to be happy with it and say, it's so nice that this nasty situation happened now and ruined my plans because I know it will be useful for me. You never say that. So I'm not a hypocrite in that way. But again, during 4.5 years, I had to confront a reality which from the outside looked impossibly hard. And it was. I also know now that because of this reality, or thanks to this reality, or thanks to this experience, I now live this beautiful life that I live. This fulfilling existence, this everyday fulfilling life where I am happy with who I am, with who I am becoming. I am happy with what kind of model I am for my kids, what kind of husband I am, with what I'm doing professionally. And it might not sound glamorous, but this is for me the definition of success. Because irrespective of material possessions, irrespective of the amount of millions, of billions, or whatever amount of money you think or hope will resolve all the problems for you and will make you the happiest person in the world, it will not happen. Okay, I'm sorry to spoil that for you. It will not happen. This is just a shortcut that you hope you will find to solve all your problems. But money solves money problems. Money don't solve life problems, right? Suffering, pain. Helping you with the decision of seeing the universe as being friendly and not only saying to yourself once, but genuinely believing it to be friendly and act and behave right in light of that decision and do things that confirm to you that indeed you live in a friendly universe. This is something you cannot buy with money. So success ultimately is a decision. It's yet another decision. Success, like any other belief, is a decision. If I now live a happy life, a happy existence, while still having the drive to pursue my next career move, my next personal growth, while I know for sure that until the day I die, I will continue my own journey of transformation and evolution, and still be happy in real time without postponing my happiness until I will get this next milestone, this next career move, or this whatever physical, objective, financial milestone. If I can keep both of them, so what I call a peaceful ambition, right? This drive, this motivation to act in the world, to be in the world, to engage with the world, as flawed as the world is, because I'm like the world, flawed myself. I'm again inheriting and grateful for the human condition that I get to execute and operate in on a day-to-day basis, right? But this is the world. This is the world of forms. It's joyful if you look at it like that. So I'm doing that while being perfectly okay and happy with what I have today and not wanting anything else and anything more in order to be happier, more happy. Happiness is a byproduct of you living now in alignment with your values. It's a byproduct of you respecting yourself, of being authentic with yourself first, with the world, of not hiding stuff away from yourself, of respecting yourself, of loving yourself, of being able to say that you're loving yourself on a fucking YouTube video. This is what gives you happiness and fulfillment. Not having things to hide from people, even if they are strangers. Why should I hide the fact that I care about myself and that I love myself and I am in a nice phase in my life? Why would I be ashamed to share that with the whole world eventually? Why would I? I'm not bragging. I'm just hoping that I can inspire people and I can help others assume a better framing of what's happening to them and own it. Be grateful for what's happening to them and claim that. Use that as fuel. If it's bad, good. Again, even if it's painful now, in 3 months, in 3 years, you will be in a much better situation if you take all the lessons that you can take from the hardship. Because the hardship will teach you. The hardship is what will help you grow and evolve and have a better life. Again, if you're not challenged, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you can never be happy with yourself because you know there is untapped potential there. And you cannot be happy with putting down this internal voice that tells you, you can do more, you can do better. Not for you, but for others. To the point of assuming that beautiful moral responsibility of doing it. I hope you take something out of it. For me, it's such a beautiful feeling to be able to share this so openly with you. I wish you all the best.